Well, Indiana basketball missed out on another guard recruit in Anthony Brown, but the quest for a center still remains, and Ethan Taylor might just be the answer.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights for this week's Moving the Game Forward Mazda Move and Be Move. Later on in the episode, we're going to be joined by our friend Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football, and he's going to tell you why he was wrong about Indiana and very wrong about Illinois as well. Plus, we talk about some dark horse college football playoff contenders and why the Hoosiers are legitimate college football playoff contenders. But we start today's show with some more recruiting updates for Indiana basketball. And I know that there seems to be some disappointment around the fan base because let's just call it like it is. Darian DeVries has yet to land the big-time recruit or big-time commit, I should say, since he's been the head coach at Indiana basketball. He's had a ton of dudes visit. He's been out to see everybody that's possibly there. He sent all of his assistants everywhere across the country, heck, even across the world, to go and see some of the greatest talent in the class of 2026 and beyond. And I know that it's frustrating to watch kid after kid after kid, recruit after recruit after recruit, talk about Indiana, have the Hoosiers in their list, come on visits, trim it down to a top 10 or a top 5 or a top 3, and then ultimately go somewhere else. The latest one was Anthony Brown. Yesterday, the 4-star point guard, top 10 point guard in the country, was down to Indiana, Maryland, and Vandy, amongst some others, and he ends up picking the SEC school. He ends up going to Vanderbilt. You feel like as an Indiana program, you like your chances against those types of teams, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out this time. I thought there was a real possibility this could happen, but he decides to go somewhere else, and the Hoosiers have to move on. But I will remind you that Darian DeVries does have Prince Alexander Moody in the class of 2026, and then you just pick up Chase Branham in the 2027 class. So you do have some momentum and some things in the works here, but you got to start landing the big stars in 2026. And I think the next one that it could be is Ethan Taylor, the 5-star center. Okay, he is out of the state of Missouri. We've talked about this guy. 247 says he's a 4-star. I don't even know how that's possible as a top 25 player in the country. Okay, Ethan Taylor, 7 feet tall, 245 pounds, ranked 28th in the country according to 247. Their composites say he's a 5-star and ranked 23rd. So we're going to go with that and say he's a 5-star. And without a doubt, he's one of the best centers in all of high school basketball, ranked number 2. According to 247. And you throw him in the mix, right, with an Arafan Diani or a Davion Atkins, all these guys that we've talked about for Indiana in terms of the center position in the class of 2026. And Ethan Taylor fits every mold. He checks all the boxes. He has everything that you would want. And I'm talking about the fans, but also Darian DeVries as well. 7 feet tall, 245 pounds. I want you to think about the size of this human being for just a second, man. 7 feet tall, which is what you've all been asking for, and 245 pounds. Folks, he's built like Nikola Jokic if Nikola Jokic was skinny, if Nikola Jokic could move and was also a little bit taller. Ethan Taylor is a physical specimen, and he is a joy to watch play high school basketball. Playing in Missouri, playing at the Link Academy, being recruited pretty heavily by some of the biggest programs in the country. You're talking about Kentucky, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Indiana, Kansas is in there as well. And of course, Ethan Taylor was on campus recently. He saw Indiana, And the word is he liked Indiana. Word is that his family liked Indiana. They liked this coach. They liked the staff. They liked the environment. They liked the system that he could be playing in. Because it's a player forward system that DeVries is going to run. And you can go back and look at what he's done in previous stops. He's not a brand new head coach. That's what people seem to be getting hung up on here, is that Darren DeVries is just coaching basketball for the first time and we don't know what system he's going to run and we don't know how he's going to operate. No, it's on film. You can go and see it at his previous stops. The only question is, what's he going to do in Indiana, and will he have the players to do it, and how long will it take to get there? We don't know. We got to figure all that out when they get on the floor, but you can have a pretty good idea, especially if you're a big-time recruit, about what your role will be. And for Ethan Taylor, it's a ball-dominant center. It's somebody that plays his spot well. You play on the low blocks. You'll come out and set high ball screens. And when you're open, we're going to give it to you. If you have a mismatch, cool. We're going to give it to you. And if you're around the rim or around the basket on a missed shot, you're going to be the biggest one there. Just jump up and grab the damn thing and put it back in. That's what Ethan Taylor is going to be able to do in a lot of systems that he plays, yes, but in this new Indiana system. This is not Malik Renew. This is not the centers of the past here at Indiana. This is a new era. This is a new system. This is a new vision for the Indiana Hoosiers on the offensive end of the floor. Defensively, Ethan Taylor's fantastic, and Darren DeVries hangs his hat on that, and he's somebody that if you go up against him, you're just going to get your shot blocked, and that's pretty much what you can guarantee every time that Ethan Taylor's in the ball game. But it's on the offensive end that these kids want to know what they're up against and what they're going to be doing and how they're going to fit in the system. And one thing, well, two things really, that I like about Ethan Taylor's game, it's his footwork in the lane for one. He's always spinning. He's always moving, always readjusting. But to go along with that, when he has the basketball in his hands, he's always working towards the rim. He's always working towards the basket. None of this turnaround, fade away, let me see if I can fall away from the defender and knock it down as I pick myself up off the floor. Ethan Taylor's not really built like that, folks. He doesn't really have that ability consistently to do it at the college level. Can he hit those shots? Sure. Can he do it in the high school levels? Ain't no doubt about it. But playing P5 Big Ten college basketball, that's not the play style he's going to be able to run with, which is why I notice when he catches it, whether his back is to the basket, he's facing the basket, bumping his way down, making a backdoor cut, setting the screen and rolling, whatever the case may be, Ethan Taylor always works towards the rim, which gives you the best chance to make your shot or get the offensive rebound off your shot and put it back in or set up a teammate, which he does very well as well. So I like Ethan Taylor, and I think that he will fit this Indiana system if he gives the Hoosiers a chance. Now, he also has taken a visit along with Indiana. He's taken a visit to Oklahoma. He still has visits coming up this weekend at Kansas, Michigan State coming up in October, and Kentucky on October 10th. But if you remember, Kansas has been going after all these big-time centers too, and it seems like they may have their eye on someone not named Ethan Taylor. I think the Hoosiers are well on their way to getting this kid. I think they are all up in it. I think you have every chance to make this happen, and this could be the first domino, whether it's Ethan Taylor or Latrell Almond or Anthony Thompson, whoever it is. I mean, just go get somebody. Just go get somebody if you're Darren DeVries and get this burden off your back, get it off your shoulders, and get the first domino to fall. Because I'm telling you, Hoosier fans, when the first one falls, a lot more are going to go with it. And it absolutely could be Ethan Taylor. He's a 5-star center out of the state of Missouri. I'm asking you to trust me. I don't know if it's him for sure, but you got a good shot, and the Hoosiers are going to be in it till the final breath. And if you make this happen, you're well on your way to building a special class in 2026 and beyond here in Indiana. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we're going to sit down with our good friend Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football because he has some apologies for you and for me because yes, he was wrong, but everybody was wrong about how Indiana and Illinois was supposed to go down last week. We talk about that, plus why Indiana is a legitimate college football playoff team and some dark horses around the Big Ten. That's coming up next here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time that you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Is it insensitive to say that it's just the whole Indiana team that delivered? How about Kurt Signetti? He delivered. How about you, the Indiana fans? You delivered. You did your job if you were there at Memorial Stadium. Everybody is not to blame. Everybody's to credit here for Indiana just walloping Illinois last weekend at home. Everybody delivered in a big way. So just like you all delivered for Indiana, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday that you order, stack it up all season, then you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period ends on November 18th. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel, right? The NFL season is here. Thursday Night Football coming up tonight, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So if you're looking to get involved a little bit tonight, again, in Thursday Night Football, you've got early morning football on Sunday, right? I believe they're over in, it's not London. Is it Ireland? Is it Dublin? I think that's where they are this weekend. So if you want to get in some early Sunday morning bets before all the other games kick off, then go for it. Seahawks Cardinals is tonight for Thursday Night Football. Two teams that are 2-1, both looking for another win. Seahawks favored by about 1.5 according to our friends at FanDuel. So if you want to be a part of that and a whole lot more, you can check it out right now. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet today. Welcome in. It is a Locked On College crossover. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. And my goodness, does that hat look so good on you, my friend? The cream and
glad you think I look good. That's all I heard.
No. The hat looks good on you. Oh. You don't look good in the hat. Does that make sense? There is a little bit of a difference there.
I guess I understand it. I'm going to take the self-esteem blow. Yeah.
I'm proud of you for wearing it, though. I know that's not easy, and you did wear it on the Monday after Indiana beat Illinois. I did check. Not that I didn't believe you, but I just wanted to make
Brought to you, trust but verify. That's fine. Brought to you by the Game Caps, by the way. The best.
Yes, the best in the business. And look, Sonny Verma of Locked On Illini wore his Indiana hat all week on Locked On Illini as well. But we're talking a little Indiana football because, Spencer, you were wrong about Indiana, but a lot of people were wrong about Indiana, but it may be more so wrong about Illinois. How are you feeling as this week has gone on?
No, I still feel okay, oddly enough, about Illinois. They got their teeth kicked in, but the game, unfortunately, I was called back to when this event was unfolding in Bloomington on Saturday night. Great crowd, by the way. Shout out to the fans. They were awesome. I was thinking about the Rose Bowl when Ohio State beat Oregon, and Ohio State held a 34-0 lead. Anybody can sit there and say the Big Ten champion was a fraud? That they were fake? That they were overrated? That they weren't actually good? Anybody can say that? No? Didn't think so. This can happen. And look, it is certainly a worse performance than I was expecting from Illinois, but I think it said more about what Indiana is than what Illinois isn't. And we'll know if that's truly the case this week because Illinois got a tough game against USC that they now kind of have to win, or else their playoff hopes are, I mean, they're not done, but they'd have to win out after that point, and that's not going to be easy since they still have to play Ohio State. So I think that for Indiana in this spot, it wasn't just that, Fernando Mendoza played really well and he's off to a great start. It's the way that they look like such a complete team. I think last year at times they felt like a team that was a quarterback and some great receivers and a system that works really well, but that was kind of it at times. I'm not saying the entire year, but I think that's what most people really thought of when they pondered why Indiana was good at football. Like, oh, well, they're throwing these back shoulder fades, and Curtis Rourke's tearing the world on fire and lighting the world on fire, and all that stuff, and that's great. But when I watched Indiana on Saturday, that was complete three-phase domination. Every single level, every single match, it was all in favor of Indiana. They had a better game plan. They had a better approach. They looked like they had better players. They looked bigger, faster, stronger, more physical. So I think that's what was really impressive to me, is that this looked like such a complete Indiana team rather than just they have a couple guys that are guiding you and you can only go to a certain point. I think that they showed, hey, we've got playmakers all over the place on both sides of the ball.
Well, we're going to talk about it just a little bit, how legit Indiana is and kind of some of the other contenders around the Big Ten up to this point in the season. We still have Big Ten teams that haven't played another Big Ten team so far this season. But was it for Illinois? I want to go back to them for a moment because going into the game, Spencer, I said they were a good team, and Brett Bielema's a good coach. Luke Altmaier's a good quarterback. Their defense is solid. I just was really underwhelmed by what they put on the field, and their secondary injuries and a guy getting thrown out for targeting, that didn't help them. I just expected more from a Brett Bielema coach football team.
I agree. I think up front is particularly where this was a letdown. The secondary injuries, you say, okay, that is something that not everyone has the competitive depth to be able to go through. Clearly, That's the case for Illinois based on a one-game sample size, but it was the domination up front. Luke Altmaier was just having havoc wreaked on him the entire night, it felt like. It was just not a very good showing for a team that, is usually set under Brett Bielema last year. They really prided themselves on their physicality and running the football, and, they just looked overwhelmed and outmatched in every facet when you talk about the trench play in this game. So, the running difference was what, 312 to 2?
2, baby.
2. Yeah, 2. Now,
yards.
Sack yardage shouldn't count as rushing yards. I imagine that doesn't make the stat look a whole heck of a lot better.
No, it doesn't help Illinois' case. You're right.
It doesn't. That discrepancy, though, is shocking. Like, that's a number that even if you told me going into the game, hey, Indiana's going to dominate Illinois. Oh, okay. What did they outgain them on the ground? 270 to 100?
Right.
280 to 90? 2? I mean,
that's not supposed to happen in a P4 versus P4 game.
It's not, especially when you have a ranked matchup between Illinois and Indiana that some people, me, correctly pointed out should have been the College game day destination instead of that dud that was Florida-Miami. And yeah, this game wound up being a dud too, but the fans in Bloomington should have been invigorated even more so going into the game with College game day. So I hate that for Indiana fans because they got deprived for financial reasons, unfortunately. So I think for the Hoosiers going forward, hard to not feel really good about both sides of the ball because, 63 points and you allow 10.
I like that math.
I don't care which. Frankly, I don't care which conference team you're playing. Shoot, that's really good. I don't care if you're playing Northwestern. Oregon didn't beat Northwestern 63 to 10. To do that against Illinois, wildly impressive stuff.
You mentioned the atmosphere as well, and that's something that I've pointed out, and I think just the energy and the crowd and the attention that this game got. Everybody in the country was watching Indiana versus Illinois because all the other night games were terrible anyways. I'm just glad that people got to see it again this year, what Indiana football can be, because it's easy, Spencer. I'm sure you can admit this. It's easy to look at Indiana historically and say, yeah, we're not worried about that. But the national pundits got to see Indiana at its best last Saturday night.
Yeah, they did. There's no other way to see it. It was, as I mentioned, just a complete team performance. And you did have a big stage, even though it wasn't the game day game. You're taking on Illinois, who had climbed up inside the top 10. And I think they deserve to be in that spot, by the way, because they were preseason top 12 team. They went on the road, and no, I think they were deserving of being in that spot. And then other teams fell off. They went on the road against Duke, who's not that good, but not that bad, and they beat them soundly, forced a bunch of turnovers, and played well offensively and took advantage of them. And you look at that, and if any SEC team had done that, or if Michigan, or I know, if they had done that, they would have been moved up pretty significantly in the rankings. But even within the SEC, brand bias comes about. Why is Vanderbilt at number 18?
They should be higher. That's a good team.
They should be way higher.
That's a good team.
Should be way higher. They went to South Carolina and drubbed the Gamecocks, who were the preseason number, I think, 11 team in the country, and understandably so. But you take that data point, I don't know, I don't trust Vanderbilt. And this is my frustration with the AP poll. There's no consistent criteria. Is it who you think the 25 best teams are, people that are voting Notre Dame? Is it the 25 most deserving teams based on resume? Or is it a combination? Like, what is it? And there's just no consistency there. Like, why is Mississippi State unranked right now?
They should be ranked. They're a top 25 team. They beat Arizona State in a very nice way.
Yeah, they did. Agree. And, Missouri got credit for beating Florida State soundly. Vanderbilt didn't. Why? Well, Missouri's brand's a little bit stronger than Vanderbilt. So, and Indiana dealt with that last year, right? Because the Hoosiers were beating subpar teams in the Big Ten. A metaphor I strongly object to, by the way, because subpar is desirable in golf. But they were beating teams that weren't very good, but they were beating them by about the same average margin of victory that Michigan beat everybody before they played Ohio State in the year they won the national championship. And so no one objected to Michigan being ranked that high when they didn't play anybody because, well, it's Michigan, right?
It's fair.
That's what comes into these conversations all too often.
Look, I'd love to sit and talk more about the AP poll and why it's bad and why it should be trimmed down. But I've beat that pretty heavily so far on Locked On Hoosiers. What I do want to talk about, though, when we come back is how legit is Indiana? Are we talking the playoffs again, plus a couple of other teams to watch out for in the Big Ten? We talk about that next here on a Locked On Crossover. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Mazda's, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is a punt block return for a touchdown for the Indiana Hoosiers, right? D'Angelo Pons did what he had to do, got himself involved against Illinois, got his hands in there, blocked it, recovered it, broke a tackle, and scored a touchdown to get Indiana right back in the game before a rout ensued. And that helped Indiana launch pad themselves into a demolishing of the Illinois Fighting Illini last Saturday night in Bloomington. So that was our moving the game forward moment of the week. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, it's time to move and be moved. All right, we're back. Locked On Crossover, Hoosiers and college football. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, whichever one you're watching this on. Leave your thoughts down in the YouTube comments. And for any of you listening on your audio platforms, follow us there, subscribe there if it's a thing, and turn on those notifications so you never miss our daily episodes of Hoosiers and all things college football. And let's talk some more Indiana. How legit are the Hoosiers, Spencer, in your mind, after what they did against Illinois, plus the schedule they still have remaining? How legit is Indiana to make it back to the college football playoff at this point in the season?
That feels like the floor. I mean, not being hyperbolic here. That feels like bare minimum good outcome for Indiana this season is you get into the playoff. And look, maybe one day we'll look back and go, oh, Illinois was 6-6. Boy, they regressed. They weren't actually that good. Even if they do that, which I don't think they're going to do, by the way. I think worst case for Illinois is 7 wins, but I think they're still probably an 8-9 win team this year. And let's say they go back to 7 wins, beating a team 63-10. That doesn't happen a lot in conference play.
Yeah.
It simply does not. Can you imagine if, let me pick one example, the Alabama Crimson Tide blew out a 7-5 Oklahoma team this year? Can you imagine? Oh, they're back. They're so unbelievably back.
Kalen DeBoer is Saban 2.0, baby.
Yep, he's got it. Yeah. He's got it. Just needed a little time.
Is the man.
Look at how badly they beat that team. I actually don't even remember if they square off this year. I'm just making a point. This is a really impressive performance by Indiana, and they have other games this year that, as Indiana fans well know, are going to, be even more challenging than this. You talk about on the road against Oregon in a couple of weeks. We'll get together and talk about that when the time is right. You talk about
reason.
Yeah, for no reason in particular, because I'm a college football fan, obviously.
That's
so,
right. That's right.
you talk about that game. They've got Penn State on the schedule as well.
In Happy Valley.
Yeah, in Happy Valley. Like that, those are a couple of really tough games. But coming into this year, you and I both felt, those are probably going to be losses. Now you look at them and go, kind of feels like they could get one of them. Let's see how Oregon and Penn State look against each other this weekend before we make a determination about how tough those games will truly be for Indiana based on in-season results. But man, it's hard to not be impressed by what Indiana did. And 10-2 in the Big Ten or SEC gets you into the playoff, right? 10-2 feels like the floor for Indiana going forward. I can't see how they would do anything worse than lose to Oregon and Penn State and beat everybody else. I really can't. If they play like that week in and week out or anywhere close to it, the worst they will be is 10-2.
Outside the obvious of Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon, give me a team in the Big Ten. I know it's early. There's a lot of games to be played. Give me a team, not name those three, and of course not Indiana either. A team that people need to have their eyes on in the Big Ten as a dark horse for the college football playoff.
Yeah, I'm going to go with USC. They play Illinois on the road this week. Could knock the Illini out of the top 25. According to our friends at FanDuel, they're 6.5-point favorites in that spot, and I might have more on that game later in this week on the show, but I think that for USC right now, they are playing really good ball on the offensive side, which oddly enough, with a Lincoln Riley coach team, was the question. Because last year the offense was not where it has been under previous years when he's the coordinator, and that's what he does as the head coach, of course. But the defense last year took a huge step forward with Danton Lynn, and he's there again. He's got some returners, and Kamari Ramsey is a darn good football player on that side of the ball, one of several guys, and they have played really good football. Now, this is their first real test this week. They played fine on the road against Purdue a little while ago, and they played well enough against Michigan State, but they are playing well. I won't say they're making the sort of statement like what Indiana did against Illinois on Saturday. But if you look at what USC has done, I'd say, they're playing some good football. I think Michigan State is a pretty good team. I don't think they're great, but I think Michigan State's a bowl team this year. And
You're
USC,
going to get Matt Sheehan all fired up now.
I know, but
all fired up.
I think they're a bowl team this year, and USC was comfortably better than them throughout the course of the game, and the Spartans backdoored their way into a cover there. So on an 18.5 or 17.5 point spread, I think. So I think for USC, the question is, does Jaden Mayava sustain this going forward? He's off to a blistering pace.
Yeah.
I don't think he's played a real defense this week. I think Illinois, in spite of what we just saw against Indiana, will be the best defensive test that he's had to go up against so far this year. And I think that's going to be a really fun matchup to watch. But yeah, USC, I would have had Nebraska if they'd knocked off Michigan, but they weren't able to get that done. So I won't put them quite in that conversation. And by the way, I'm not going to put Michigan in that conversation either. I think both of those teams are good, by the way. Michigan's better. They outplayed them on the road last week pretty considerably. But I think that Michigan is good. I just think they are a year away. And Bryce Underwood is exciting. I'm glad they started him. I called for that all offseason. I do think that there were always going to be some growing pains, and there still are. I don't think he's as lethal of a passer on third down as J.J. McCarthy was a couple of years ago when Michigan won the Big Ten. So I think he still, needs to progress as a passer, and they frankly need to be better on the perimeter. They just don't have a high-level weapon out there. You took away Colston Loveland, and their tight ends are fine, but man, on the perimeter, they just don't have anybody to really make it a consistent threat for another team. And so when you don't have that component, I think Michigan just gets a lot less dangerous, because if you go up against a team like Ohio State or Oregon or Penn State that can match you toe-to-toe in the trenches and limit your running game, suddenly your offense is putting the onus on the defense because they're going to be capped at 17 to 20 points. Well, you better be able to hold a bunch of NFL talent all over the Big Ten to 24 points or fewer if you want to hang around in that game. So I think Michigan's still a year away. I think Nebraska might be still a year away. Keep an eye on Washington. Just keep an eye. They play Ohio State this week, and
that's a nasty spread. I'm telling you.
It's Ohio State minus 8.5. It is at Husky Stadium. They're looking for a signature win under Jed Fish. I'd be very careful if I were Ohio State going into that game thinking that we're just going to roll out here. And teams that have gone to the West Coast in the regular season have not had a great track record so far in this now year 2 of the Big Ten. And so I'd be watching for that. Damon Williams is a real player at quarterback, fast, twitchy, really accurate as a passer. He is incredibly dangerous, but the question for Washington is, will the rest of the team be up to that level? Because Damon Williams' ceiling is a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten this year. I'm not talking the future. I'm saying this year.
Okay.
But can the rest of the team be on Ohio State's level? We'll see this weekend, but that's another team that if you say, well, who do you keep an eye on around the Big Ten? I'd go to those two right there, USC and Washington, and I think Michigan, Nebraska just missing out.
Well, there's a lot of big games this weekend and several more the following weeks as well. We're going to learn a ton about those teams, the teams at the top, and, of course, the Indiana Hoosiers as well. Thanks so much for being here. He is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. Check him out again wherever you get your podcast. Same way you find Locked On Hoosiers, you can find his show. And same way you find his show, you can find Locked On Hoosiers. All right. And, hey, just by the way, Spencer, Fernando Mendoza is the Heisman betting favorite according to FanDuel.
All right. The hat is officially coming off for the day.
Oh,
we'll see if I pick Indiana in a big game later this year.
We'll see if he does. And if he doesn't, I will. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.